All right, that is enough talking about my future prospects of being stuck in a subathon. Let's instead talk about our future prospects of Donald Trump being president again and the things he's trying to do if he gets reelected. Because, you know, that's a cheery topic. That's a happy one. Who's ready for this happy topic that we have to talk about? But first, let's get into the fan art section. First piece of fan art we have here is from Rox Cyanus. I found you saying piss water way too funny and this popped into my head. My mind is an enigma. Piss water. The next one we have here is from Wolfos for 50,000 and for 50,001 channel points. Huh. Just rage. Just straight rage. The last one we have is from Cord the Husk. Said slime Suris during D&D. I guess I've been boned. I am truly closer to a gelatinous cube than ever before. As always, everyone, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, just get in there now. Okay, this is enough of that. Let's get into Donald Trump. Actually, no, let's not get into Donald Trump. Let's be as far away from inside that man's crusty butt cheeks as we possibly can. In the meantime, let's take a look at this article. So, Donald Trump has promised to restore his ban on transgender people serving in the military if he's reelected in 2024. The ban, which was implemented by Trump in 2019, which was overturned by Biden in 2021, prevented transgender people from serving in the United States military, a policy which was described as harmful and backwards. Despite widespread condemnation of the ban, while he was in the White House, Trump vowed that if he was reelected, he will crack down on radical gender experiments and tremendous drug therapy for trans service members. Also, Cinderone, thank you for redeeming your points for an... You fucking weirdo. So that man's a threat to trans people? Yes, he will. So let's very quickly, before we go any further into this article, let's go ahead and talk about the fact that per capita, there are more trans people in the military, as represented by their group, than there are cis people in the military. If 1 to 2% of cis people are in the military, then 2 to 4% of trans people are in the military. Numbers are different than that, but you get the picture. This is why I'm saying per capita, because I made this mistake once before. There's a higher representation within the trans community of people who are trans in the military than not. So the reason this matters, the military is one of the easiest ways that trans people have access to HRT, period. Because your medical care gets taken care of by the United States military. And after a certain point, it gets taken care of for life. That's important. Now, there are people who've said, oh, well, I don't want people who are mentally unstable in the military. Bitch, you all are. You're in the military. Get over yourselves. Secondly, another argument that is had is that, oh, well, it's going to be harder for groups to have cohesion if there are trans people in there. And my other question would be, how? Like in which way? How do you get to that conclusion? I seriously don't understand how you get to that conclusion. Somebody being trans doesn't make them any fundamentally different than you or anyone else. And I mean, hell, once somebody gets to the point where they're passing, you don't even fucking know. So why do you care? You know how they get that way easier? With HRT, they can get for free from the United States military. And if your argument is, well, my tax dollars shouldn't be paying for it, my counter argument for that is your tax dollars already pay for everybody's health care in the military. Get over yourself. Trump went on to say, I will ban the Department of Veterans Affairs from wasting a single cent to fund transgender surgeries or any sex change procedures, he told a crowd in New Hampshire on Tuesday. So what's happening here? Well, basically, Trump is just trying to push as far as he can to make sure that his base, which is largely transphobic because that is the GOP's stickling point right now, I should know, I'm in Georgia, he's trying to get that base on his side as much as he can. He says, those precious taxpayer dollars should be going to care for our veterans in need, not to refund radical gender experiments for the communist left. My God, this is nothing but fucking buzzwords. He says, I'll also restore the ban on transgenders in military. We had it banned. We had it banned. It's like don't ask, don't tell, but, you know, way, way worse. Now, to argue that a trans person who needs their HRT or a trans person who needs surgery is somehow any different than a veteran who needs, oh, I don't know, let's go ahead and say mental health therapy. Just some kind of therapy after the military. You know, pretty common thing for people in the military to need. If you are saying that a trans person does not deserve the same level of care for their specific needs, then on what grounds? On what grounds do you make that particular claim? Now, I can understand somebody who has the argument, I think they should have the same care as everyone else, and that does not include cutting off a penis. Now, I understand that that's a position that some people hold. Allow me to offer you a counter-argument. You're dumb and you were dropped on your head. I'm kidding. That's not the actual counter-argument. Let me offer you an actual counter-argument. If I went into the military and I broke my foot, then I would need care for breaking my foot. But most of the people in the military would not need care for breaking their foot. And yet, my foot still needs care. Not everybody needs the same care when they're in the military. Some people break their back. Some people hurt their bones. Some people end up with PTSD. Some people end up with nerve damage. And there is a different treatment needed for every single one of those things. And they get treated for those things whether they took that damage in the military or out of the military. Healthcare through the military, TRICARE, is not workers' comp. So, why would trans healthcare be any different? It shouldn't be. There are specific issues that I might have myself. I might develop cancer at some point. If I was in the military, should the military not fund that cancer treatment merely because, oh, well, not everybody in the military is getting cancer? I guess we shouldn't fund that treatment. No, that would be stupid and ludicrous. We have to make this exception. We have to pretend there is some difference between somebody saying, hey, my gender doesn't feel right. I need therapy for this. I need HRT for this. I need a surgery for this. And somebody who happens to wake up with some other kind of discomfort in their body that they need to get checked out by a doctor. If we understand that mental health is something to do with the fucking brain, and the brain is an organ, then anything, or organ, muscle, whatever you want to call it, in this particular scenario, it's a part of the body, so healthcare covers it. Trans issues are healthcare. Now, you might have the counter-argument, oh, but this is all cosmetics. Well, one, it's not really. Hormones inside the body are not just to change the outside of the body. It also changes the way your brain is wired over time. Ask anybody who has gone through their second puberty, or if they were lucky enough to only have their first one because they had puberty blockers, ask them how their mentality changed after being on HRT. There are likely some differences that they have gone through. It's not just aesthetics that change. But let's even pretend for a moment that your argument is that it is cosmetic changes, and you are 100% convinced that that is the argument you're going to go with forever. So, I have a question. If somebody gets a third-degree burn, they're in the military, they get a third-degree burn, and they have a chunk of their flesh taken away because of the burn, and they require a skin graft to make it look normal again. Is your argument going to be, well, this person doesn't deserve that. This person doesn't need that. That's cosmetic therapy. That's cosmetics. I mean, it is cosmetics. But I'd still say they need it because those cosmetics have to do with their mental health. Those cosmetics affect how they operate in day-to-day life. Those cosmetics affect how they approach the world at large. And they have a positive effect on their mental well-being. And we've already established the mental well-being happens in the fucking brain! So Anderson's, now you're sounding like private healthcare, Suris? How? I am pointing out that every single aspect of healthcare, including trans healthcare, has to do with all of us. It's a joke? Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. In a bizarre impersonation of a general, Trump, who went in recent months, has denied 78 felonies across 3 criminal cases and asked, "What do you think of transgender?" before answering, "I don't like it, sir."
I'll also restore the Trump ban on transgender in the military. We're going to end that, you know. We had it banned.
Every single person who is cheering about that deserves a brick to the head. I'm not saying that anybody should do it. I don't think it would be ethical for anybody to do it. I believe, however, that in a similar vein, if somebody is in Nazi Germany and you say that you want to ban Jews from joining the military or anything like that, and somebody cheers for it, that person, I believe, deserves a brick to the head. They deserved it in the 1930s and 40s, and I believe that a person now would deserve it just as much. Somebody wants to go, "Oh my God, Suris is calling for violence." No, I'm not. I'm just using historical precedent here.
And we had it banned. You know, I went to generals. I said, "General, off the record, what do you think of transgender, sir? Is anybody listening, sir? What do you think? I don't like it, sir." And then I'd say to another one, you know, they're all afraid to talk about it, but, you know.
Who cares? A random general exercising military intelligence says he doesn't like trans people. Who cares? I'm sorry. Let's pretend it actually happened. I don't care what a random general in the military thinks. I have no reason to care what a random general in the military thinks. I don't. I care what data says. I care what the majority of people who actually are experts in fields of mental health think. Those people don't give a flying fuck about your opinion either. The former president's ban on trans people serving in the military was heavily criticized when it was pushed through, with service members describing the law as a shameful chapter in the country's history. When the ban was overturned, long-serving Staff Sergeant Catherine Schmid told Pink News, "This is a significant and hopeful moment for our country. Over the past 3 years, we've fought to prove that transgender people are not a burden, a hindrance, or a distraction. We are an equal contributing part of the society just as much as any other, and this development vindicates that basic principle. This isn't simply about our place in the military or my place in my unit. It's about our right to be treated as co-equal members of society. This harmful and backwards policy will now be put where it belongs, in a very short, shameful chapter of the United States military history." In 2021, Alfonso David, who was the president of the Human Rights Campaign at the time, said the government will begin to process to eliminate the arbitrary and discriminatory executive action that has not only harmed transgender service members, but our entire military. The greatest military in the world will again value readiness over bias and qualifications over discrimination. And that's the other thing. Like, for the United States military, if somebody is qualified for the job and they're good at the job, why would you go, "Your genitals are different than what you think they should be. Get out"? Why would you do that? What is the benefit to our military for doing that? If you're worried about your tax dollars going to it, your tax dollars went to MK Ultra. Shut up. You've already done enough harm with your tax dollars. Your hands aren't clean. Go deal with yourself in a mirror. The United States is not a perfect country, and they continue to do things that are fucking awful. But if we look at something like this, we have to ask ourselves, hey, can we make this better? Can we make our country better? If you are a patriot, if you think yourself, if you fancy yourself an American patriot, then my question to you is, does a patriot blindly follow a random-ass stupid leader, or does a patriot want their country to do better and be better? I would think that a true patriot would want the best for their country and would want their country to improve as opposed to regress. To do better and be better. Also, how's it going? Ghosty loves you. How you doing? The United States is not a perfect place, and the military is not an ideal place for people to go to, regardless of what your walk in life is. But if you are a trans person and you need HRT, you need surgeries, you need these things, what is the difference between you going in the military and somebody else going in the military who's going in for their own medical reasons? Somebody has they have a family history of bad backs, and they know they're going to need medical help for that later on in life. So they go into the military early, knowing that while it may exacerbate their condition, 10, 15 years later, they will at least have TRICARE to take care of them. I don't see a difference between these things. I think it's okay, and I think it's reasonable to use the resources that we have as a country to help the citizens of this country. It makes sense to me. I don't want to go into the military, but believe me, if I went in, I would do everything in my power to stay in for as long as I could to get that health care, to get taken care of. Hell, there have been parts of me that have considered going and joining as an adult right now because I'm still within my age to do things like the Army. It's not a thing that I want to do, and it's not a thing that I would be able to do, I don't think, but it's definitely a thing that has crossed my mind because of the healthcare guarantees. And it's done that for everybody at some point, I'm certain. So why do we single out trans people on it? Why do we single out them and go, they shouldn't go into the military and get the healthcare that they need? That's a waste of my tax dollars. No, we shouldn't do that. That's stupid. That's arbitrary, and what you really need to do, I implore you, if you do not want trans people in the military, I want to know where it's coming from. Also, Dusty Old Closet, thank you very much for the 1,000 bits. That is incredibly generous. A patriot recognizes their country is not always right. Thank you! So here's where I want to throw things back to my audience. If you are in my audience and you, for some reason, do not believe that trans people belong in the military, I want to know your reasoning. Let me know in the comment section below. Give me your reasoning for it. And people who are in my audience who want to fight with them in the comment section, I understand that the want to dogpile, I understand how deserved you may feel it is in many cases, especially with Trump saying stuff like this. I implore you, though, in the comment section, engage in reasonable discussion as opposed to knee-jerk reactions. If we are ever, whether you are on the left or on the right, if we are ever to come to a point where we can come to good and reasonable solutions to our country's problems, then we need to understand how each other thinks. I am a socialist, out and out. I am further left than most Democrats you will find. But I still want to make an effort to figure out what reasons you have for liking Donald Trump, what reasons you have for wanting trans people out of the military, what reasons you have for these things. I don't want to just sit here and knee-jerk and call people monster, whether or not they deserve the term. I mean, after all, we have a word for people who joined the Nazi Party or their military not because they hated the Jews, but because they wanted the benefits and they didn't see any other options. I mean, we still called them Nazis. That aside, I don't want to do that here. I want to come to a place of understanding. Where did you come to this conclusion? Why did you come to this conclusion? And probably the most important thing to ask yourself when it comes to why do you like Trump, why do you not want trans people in the military, or why do you not like them in general, ask yourself when you came up with that opinion. Did it happen when you were a kid? In which case, maybe reevaluate it. Did it happen as an adult because you were watching something like, say, Fox News or Shapiro or Walsh? Maybe there's something there you need to reevaluate as well. How many of your personal beliefs that you hold dear to your heart were actually propagandized to you at one point and you never got rid of them? It's a scary thing to consider. It's a thing that I had to deal with when I was deconstructing away from being an Alex Jones fan. So ask yourself the same thing. How did you get here? Why do you think the things you do? Use the Socratic method. If you feel like you have an answer that comes way too quickly, then ask the question again differently, or ask the question of your answer. You like Donald Trump because he speaks his mind. Well, what things does he say when he speaks his mind that you like? And do you like those things? And if you do, continue to ask yourself why. Eventually, you'll come to the core reason of why you've come to the decision you're at. Or, terrifyingly enough, you may find out that you don't actually have a core reason. You may eventually hit an I don't know. And once you've hit an I don't know in the Socratic method, you start to realize you don't have much of a foundation for a belief you may think is very important to you. But let me know how that works in the comment section below for you. I mean, hell, if you consider yourself a leftist and you have the same thoughts, do the same thing. Regardless of your political position, I want you to be able to analyze where your beliefs come from and why. I want people to have, for lack of a better word, based opinions. Hit the like button if you haven't already, though. Subscribe if you haven't already. And, as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.